On the first day of the month, as the sun cast its golden rays upon the earth and the wind whispered through the trees, I lay resting alone in my house. The quiet hum of the day was soothing, and my mind drifted into a deep slumber. In that stillness, something extraordinary occurred. Out of the silence, two figures emerged before me. They were unlike anything I had ever seen, towering, radiant, and filled with a divine presence that made the very air around them tremble. Their faces shone with the brilliance of the sun, too bright for human eyes to behold directly, yet in their light there was no harm, only majesty. Their eyes, like flames of fire, burned with a knowing intensity that seemed to pierce through all things, revealing their deepest truths. Flames flickered from their lips, as if their very words carried the power of the Almighty. Their garments shimmered in a dazzling array of colors, predominantly purple, the hue of kings and rulers, a testament to their heavenly authority. Their wings, vast and gleaming like gold refined in fire, stretched behind them, and their hands were whiter than the purest snow, a sign of their absolute holiness. As they stood at the head of my bed, I could feel their presence even before my eyes fully opened. The room felt weightless, as if the fabric of the world had been altered. Then they called my name. Their voices, though powerful and commanding, carried a gentleness that eased my trembling heart. As my consciousness fully awakened, I saw them clearly, and an overwhelming fear gripped me. My entire being quaked, and my face contorted in terror, for I knew that no mortal could gaze upon such celestial beings without trembling. But seeing my fear, they spoke again, their voices imbued with a divine calmness. "Take courage, Enoch," they said. "Do not be afraid, for the eternal God has sent us to you. Today, you shall ascend with us into the heavens. But before you go, you must instruct your sons and your household on what they must do in your absence. Let no one seek you until the Lord returns you to them." Their words were absolute. There was no room for question, only obedience. In that moment, I knew that what was about to unfold was beyond human comprehension. The command was given, and I dared not hesitate. Rising from my bed, I left my house and called my sons, Messias, Regium, and Gad, gathering them in the place where I often spoke of wisdom. I looked into their eyes, knowing that the words I was about to say would be the last they would hear from me for an unknown time. I told them of the vision, of the angels who had come for me, and of the divine mysteries that had been set before me. Their faces reflected both wonder and sorrow, for they understood that I would soon depart into the unknown. But there was no time for lingering farewells. Even as I finished speaking, the angels, with a power unlike anything of this world, took me upon their wings. In an instant, the ground fell away beneath me, and I was lifted into the sky. The earth, which had always been my home, grew smaller beneath me as we ascended. My heart pounded, for I had never imagined such a thing could be possible. The wind roared past us, yet it did not hinder our ascent. Soon we passed beyond the reach of human sight, entering the first heaven. There, before my eyes, stretched a vast sea, greater than any I had ever known. Its waters were deep, endless, and radiant, reflecting the glory of the celestial realm. Along the shores of this boundless ocean, elders and rulers of the stars stood in solemn assembly. Their garments shone with a silver light, and their eyes carried the weight of ages. Before them were 200 mighty angels, their wings glistening like the dawn, governing the celestial bodies. I watched in awe as they moved with precision, their every motion synchronized in divine order. It was then that I realized that nothing in the heavens or on earth was by chance. Every star, every cloud, every wave of the vast sea moved according to the will of the Most High. We continued our ascent, moving into the second heaven. Here, the light dimmed, and an unsettling darkness loomed. It was not the absence of light, but a place of confinement, a prison for those who had rebelled against the Almighty. Chains, vast and unbreakable, hung suspended in the void, binding the fallen ones who had once walked in glory. These were the angels who had defied God's command, who had followed the path of rebellion and were now imprisoned, awaiting the final judgment. Their eyes, filled with despair, met mine, and their cries of anguish echoed through the heavens. I turned to my guides and asked, "Who are these?" And they answered, "These are those who abandoned the light, those who sought to rise above their Creator. Because of their pride, they fell, and this is their dwelling until the great day of reckoning." Higher still, we reached the third heaven, a place of indescribable beauty. Here was a garden, vast and filled with life. The trees bore fruit more fragrant than any earthly orchard, and the air itself was thick with the scent of blossoms. At the center of this paradise stood the tree of life, its roots stretching deep into the very foundation of heaven. Its leaves shimmered with golden hues, and its fruit gleamed with a radiance beyond anything known to man. Around it, a river flowed, its waters unlike any on earth. 2 springs poured forth, one of honey and milk, the other of oil and wine, forming streams that nourished the land. Here, 300 angels stood guard, their songs of praise rising like incense before the throne of the Most High. Yet, even in this place of wonder, there was a darker realm. My guides showed me a terrible sight, a place of deep shadow, where the air was thick with suffering. A river of fire flowed ceaselessly, and the cries of the condemned filled the air. These were those who had rejected God's ways, who had given themselves to falsehood, violence, and corruption. The angels of punishment stood over them, wielding their instruments of judgment. "This is the inheritance of the wicked," my guide said. "Here they dwell in torment, knowing they have lost the light forever." Higher and higher we went, past the heavens where the sun and moon made their appointed courses, past the armies of angels who watched over the earth, past the great thrones where celestial beings carried out the will of the Almighty. With each level I understood more, the order of creation, the justice of God, the depth of His mercy. And then, at last, we reached the place where the throne of the Most High resided. And there, in that place of unapproachable light, all questions faded. For before the presence of the Eternal One, nothing remained but awe. Thanks for watching, and see you on the next one.